Welcome to the Vault. This commentary is pertaining to the Goncalves family, claiming that they are being harassed, and also a white Hyundai Elantra has been found in Eugene, Oregon, 7+ hours away. Does it have any connection to the murders of the students in that said house on King Road? News Nation is my first source of information pertaining to the harassment of the family. Thank you for joining me.
You hear it all the time. There is no detail too small in a murder investigation, and you can multiply that by 4 in the Idaho case. But one detail that has just surfaced is 17 seconds long, and it is anything but small. It's new surveillance video of Kaylee Goncalves and Maddie Mogan on the night that they were murdered, and the video was captured at 1:30 in the morning. They're on their way to the now infamous food truck after spending the evening at a corner club bar. That's the corner club famous in downtown Moscow. The surveillance cameras at a local business captured the video of the girls as they made their way down the sidewalk towards the food truck from the bar. If you take a look at a map, you can see exactly where they had been at the corner club, 10:30 p.m. to 1:30 a.m., and where they were going to the grub truck, 1:40 a.m., and where this camera captured the images on Main Street. It even captured what the girls were saying, and you can hear it clear as a bell. Let's listen.
What did you say to Adam? I told Adam.
Did you hear that? Kaylee yells to Maddie, "What did you say to Adam?" And Maddie answers, "Like I told Adam everything." So here it is again. You can clearly hear that exchange between the two girls.
What did you say to Adam? I told Adam.
But the $64,000 question is, who is Adam? And it's a good question. And another good question, who on earth was the hooded man walking down the sidewalk with the girls in that video? There is an uncanny resemblance to the hooded man who was standing behind the girls at the food truck the whole time that they were there, like plus 10 minutes. And the man that police said they cleared early on. Joining me now is Shannon Gray. He is the attorney representing the family of Kaylee Goncalves. Mr. Gray, thank you so much for being here. So let's start with Adam. Who exactly is Adam? And has Adam been helpful at all in this investigation?
It's my understanding that Adam is just the bartender at the corner bar that they were referring to. I think it was just conversation they were having between the two of them. I don't think he's involved in the investigation at all, though. So,
but wouldn't he? I mean, you've done so much investigative work, and you've been a prosecutor and a defense attorney in murder cases, so you know how it works. And I would imagine that anybody who saw these girls in the hours before they died might be able to at least say who was in the bar, whether they witnessed anything unusual. What was it when they said, "I told Adam everything"? Do you have any idea what that meant? Was that something Adam could enlighten everybody to?
I have no idea. I can't speak to that conversation. I would hope that the Moscow Police Department would follow up with this video and some of the statements that were made in it. So that's what we're having faith that they followed up on that, on the video. So
yeah. Amen to that. What about the notion that there's a lot of sort of people triangulating social media? As you know, there's cyber sleuths who sometimes wreak havoc, but sometimes really provide some pretty good investigative help to police. And there is some connection between Adam and Kaylee's ex-boyfriend. There's pictures of them. I think on TikTok, there's a picture of Adam with Kaylee's dog. So they clearly have a close friendship. Do you know anything about the connection between Adam and Kaylee's ex-boyfriend?
no, I don't. We don't have any of that information. So, this is stuff that I think people are just, doing some digging and it's part of the investigation process. When you're not getting a lot of information, people start digging into a lot of different things and trying to figure out things on their own. And we believe that the community is who will help solve this case anyway. So, we encourage people to continue to do the things that they need to do and help out the police in the investigation.
All right, so what about the young man in the hoodie who's walking with Kaylee and Maddie down the sidewalk and who looks so much like the young hooded man who was seemingly lurking in the background but did not appear to be with them in any way at the food truck? Does Kaylee's family believe it's the same person? And is there any concern about how early he was cleared in all of this?
Well, we believe it. I mean, looking at the video, we think it's probably the same person. This video appears to be shot right before the food truck. They get to the food truck. So I think they think that it's the same person that was with them at the food truck. In regards to clearing people, I think clearing is one of those words that investigators use as far as they might clear someone and then they might get new additional information and revisit that person somehow down the line. So, if they've cleared him in this, I'm not sure that they can't revisit any potential suspects that they might have.
I can imagine that this is just excruciating for your clients, for the Goncalves family. Steve and Christy have said before they're frustrated. They want more information from the police. And it's come to our attention that the lead investigator on the Moscow police, who's running the show for the Moscow police, is a 2-year veteran of the force. So he's literally a rookie. I don't know if I got bad information or if that's true. Do you know anything about that? And why on earth, if that's true, would someone with so little experience be put in charge of something so incredibly difficult, complex, and critical?
From the get-go, I really want to make it clear that we are supportive of the investigation. We're supportive of everybody that's working on the investigation. We're supportive of all of the resources that have been provided for the investigation throughout. But we also have to hold people accountable for the decisions that they're making. My understanding is that the person when we went into the meeting on Monday, Brett Payne is the individual who identified himself as the lead investigator from the Moscow Police Department on the case. My understanding is that he was hired in 2020 as a rookie, and so he has a total of 2 years experience. As some follow-up to that, I sent a request over. I sent an email over to the Moscow Police Department asking for them to send some credentials over, some experience, education that Officer Payne might have that would lead, how he might be able to lead this investigation, give us some confidence in that. And their response was that it's personal records and we're not privy to that information.
Oh, okay.
And
we'll see what we can dig up on that. We can certainly do some digging on that as well and find out. I have another question for you. Shannon, let me ask you one more question. I've only got about 20 seconds left, but I do want to ask you this because this is happening more and more with crime victims. It happened to the Sandy Hook families. It happened to Shanann Watts' family. More and more, the cyber community, who can be so cruel, harass crime victims. Has this been happening to the Goncalves family too?
Yes, the Goncalves family they will receive random emails or text messages or things along those lines that are just, completely inappropriate. They're taunting or whatever it might be. And in today's world, it's amazing that people are out there that do these things to victims of crimes. And it's my understanding that, the Moscow Police Department has stated that if those people cross the line in regards to harassment, that they'll be prosecuting those individuals. So hopefully they'll stick behind that if that ever comes up and becomes an issue with any of the victims' families. So
I'm so sorry to hear that, Shannon. Please pass on, our regrets to the family that they're having to go through that. That's being doubly victimized, and it's just unconscionable. Thank you for being here. I appreciate this.
All right, everybody, that's News Nation. Thank you all so much for following the content. Just one brief moment. I'll be right back. Thank you for joining me. As for this information relayed here, This Adam person is an alleged bartender where the girls were at a bar. Do not know the name of the bar, but they were there for some time. And they're speaking in this brief audio pertaining to him. One is saying to the other, "What did you tell him?" And one allegedly saying everything. As I brought you commentary before, Mr. Goncalves has debunked any type of nefarious motive or issue with this certain Adam person. I'll also bring you commentary from law enforcement that they have spoken with him, and he is currently cooperating with this ongoing investigation. Very diabolical case pertaining to all entities. Harassment with the family. Why would anyone want to harass these people? That's probably a stupid question, considering a lot of people are not mentally stable. But there's no need in stalking these people or bothering them. First of all, I'd like to know, how did anyone get their emails and their numbers, or however they're reaching out to them? I'm assuming Messenger. I would have never given out my email address, considering there is a killer on the loose. So that makes no sense to be giving an email out. Now, naturally, one might say, well, I'll give it out to see if perhaps the killer would contact me or family. But that is still dangerous because, one, we do not know who the killer is. And really, whoever he is or they, it is dangerous for them to have any personal information. It's not saying that the killers cannot try to find these people or find a way to contact them, but it is crazy to try to bait a mad person. So I don't know how they would have gotten their emails. And as I said, it is wrong to stalk these people, dox these people, because that shows that you have an ill mindset and you're no different than the killer. Now, are people saying things negative to him and the family pertaining to them talking to the media and the things that they're saying? Could be friends of people who feel like you're worrying about alibis and this and that, and you're throwing daggers at these people. So really, one could say that the behavior of these people is hypocritical, because you're defending this an alleged boyfriend. You're defending this alleged Adam. So how is that different than worrying about the other people you assume are cleared and their alibis? What's the difference? Seriously, what is the difference? It's okay for you to clear somebody in your head pertaining to the investigation, but you have a problem with allegedly who the police have cleared. So maybe some of those friends of friends and people are reaching out to you to say, hey, why are you worrying about who has an alibi or not, if it's been confirmed? And once again, in an investigation, the authority can go back to the people, depending on evidence that's coming in, to reevaluate anything they've done or said pertaining to the time frame of the murders. It's common sense. And as I said in my early morning live, that it is dangerous, the situation here. So you don't want to do anything to poke the bear. Now, if the FBI and law enforcement want to play mind games with the killers, that is on them, because they are equipped and trained to play mind games. Regular civilians are not. And due to the fact that this persons are still at large, I wouldn't want to rattle the cage. I would not want to rattle the cage, because it was very ignorant behavior to say that your child will be attending this school soon and that you're concerned about someone going to the school, because, as I said, we do not know who the killer is, and you can't trust the killer. And who's to say if he, she, they are not done? Especially since Mr. Goncalves has let us know that he believes his child was the target, then, my goodness, you do need to think before speaking. And another thing that's strange about this scenario of them being harassed is that the other families are not talking about the crime scene, or speaking in general pertaining to the investigation. Why not? They have not spoken that they're being harassed, stalked. So don't you find it interesting that Mr. Goncalves and his family are the only ones talking about the investigation, publicly what they don't like about the investigation, who they have a problem with. But now here we have a lawyer saying they're in cahoots with everybody investigating. Just there was an issue with a lawyer. That was from previous source I brought you. But the other family members, Maddie's family, the Chapins, Xana's family, they're not saying anything. And why is that? And I sense narcissism here. And I've sensed this in other cases pertaining to missing people, missing children. And it's a bad look considering that people are either missing or deceased. The case doesn't need that because the focus should be of the dead people, not their relatives. It's not that some of us feel like you should be in this situation, because naturally, who wants to be in the situation of having a dead child? But there's no room for narcissistic behavior because it distracts the investigation and it gives people something to focus and talk about. People are going to gossip, lie, make up stuff, exaggerate the case, try to bring 5 minutes of fame to themselves pertaining to the case because they're just as wacky as the perpetrator. But you as a family member need to think, because you are the face of the victim. You are rallying for the victim. And naturally, you should want positive support. So you need to think about your actions and your commentary in speaking about the investigation and the victims. And once again, 4 kids were bludgeoned, not 1, not 2, but 4. So the focus needs to be, by all parties involved, is on the 4 victims. This is not a me case. And when I think of victims, I think of the dead first. No disrespect to the family or the friends, but the case is about the dead kids, nobody else, because they're not coming back. And all the light needs to be shined on them and who they were as people, and getting to the perpetrator, catching the perpetrator, and bringing justice. That's the sole goal. And I'm not engaging in this foolishness pertaining to internet junkies, nor am I going to entertain foolishness from family members or friends or anybody else, because as I said, the focus should be the victims who are dead, not the living that want attention. And I'm calling a spade a spade. This needs to stop. There's too much going on pertaining to this family and the media and the police when you don't hear anything else negative coming out of the mouths of the other family members and friends. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? Is this man wanting attention? We get it. Your child is deceased. Your child was killed brutally, but she was also murdered with her friend and her other friends. And as I said before, there is no room for narcissism in this investigation. Thank you for joining me. The next commentary is pertaining to a white Elantra that was found in Eugene, Oregon. Eugene, Oregon is 7 hours, 47 minutes from Moscow, Idaho. Is this car related to the deaths of these young people? Killer or witness? News Nation is also the second source. Thank you all so much for joining me. One moment, please.
Digital, he said this, quote, now they're reaching out and they're going to look to the community to see if this individual borrowed this car. Neither Steve Goncalves nor the police have explicitly said.
Let me go back a little bit.
When he spoke with Fox Digital, he said this, quote, now they're reaching out and they're going to look to the community to see if this individual borrowed this car. Neither Steve Goncalves nor the police have explicitly said that it was the killer driving the Elantra that night, only that this person or person inside the car likely have critical information about the case. So we also don't know exactly what they meant by borrowed. whether they're saying the car was lent to somebody or maybe stolen. But if they find that car, could the digital forensics actually help pinpoint exactly where that was that all night, like where the car ended up being all night? Because that would be huge, right? If they could do that. So I want to bring in John Naccarato. He analyzes crime and justice under the name Johnny Law. He spent 25 years as a crime scene reconstructionist, specializing in blood spatter, office-involved shootings and cold cases. He's also a nationally certified traffic crash reconstructionist. This is so great to talk to you because I want to ask you, if they find that car, 2011 to 2013, Johnny, is there even enough digital technology in a vehicle of that era to provide any kind of forensic clues, like the GPS that's sometimes in the engine, not so much the GPS that's up on the dashboard that we get to use to navigate, but that would tell where the car goes and where it's been?
You know, that year of car, it's kind of on the cutting edge of when the technology started to come out, right? 2006, they started getting GPS and those kind of systems. And so this year of car, this 2011, 2013, you know, even the in-dash systems, you know, most of those weren't installed in the Elantras. You know, the ones that I looked at, it was just a regular AM FM radio. Some have a satellite button on them, but that's really because they're a location-based service, right? They're there to guide you on where to go, tell you where the restaurants are, the next gas station. They're a service-based, so that's really where the technology would come in.
Okay, if they don't find this car,
Let me go back to the
Are they dead in
GPS
the water?
situation. Hold on.
Regular AM FM radio. Some have a satellite button on them. You know, that year of car, it's kind of on the cutting edge of when the technology started to come out, right? 2006, they started getting GPS and those kind of systems. And so this year of car, this 2011, 2013, you know, even the in-dash systems, you know, most of those weren't installed in the Elantras. You know, the ones that I looked at, it was just a regular AM FM radio. Some have a satellite button on them, but that's really because they're a location-based service, right? They're there to guide you on where to go, tell you where the restaurants are, the next gas station. They're a service base. So that's really where the technology would come in.
okay, if they don't find this car, are they dead in the water here in this investigation? Because it feels like this is all they have.
You know, I don't think so. You know, the forensic evidence is still coming back. I think the forensics is gonna solve this case. What happened on the inside of that house, on the outside, that's really gonna help solve this case. Now, if this is a car, this car is definitely a point of interest for law enforcement, right? They've gotten some kind of statement or witness that narrowed this car down to this specific range, right? A 2010 looks way different than a 2011. A 2014 looks a lot different than a 2013. So whatever information they got to kind of pinpoint this car, they really need to drill down on that and try to find out anything they can on where this car has been. And it's a big task where they have 27,000 cars that are these Elantras, right? But if you start to kind of dive down to the VIN numbers of these cars, you can actually see if this car was made in Korea on the 2013, did it come in the color white? If it didn't come in the color white, then you can start to rule out different things on the VIN numbers.
I am flat out of time, but I want you to come back because you know a lot about this stuff, and I don't think this conversation's over. Johnny Law, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And everybody, thank you for being with us tonight. Stay tuned. Cuomo is
All right, everybody. That's Ben Phil. Once again, this car has been a car. Do not know if this is indeed the infamous white Elantra that the police are speaking of, but it was found in Eugene, Oregon. Once again, 7 hours, 47 minutes from Moscow, Idaho. This man is talking about the make of the car and GPS services being in the said 2011, 2013 alleged make. So this car that we're hearing about found, crashed, did it have GPS installed inside of the car? Thank you all so much. GPS in the car? Who is the owner of the car? How many people were in the car at the time of the crash? Any witnesses to the crash? How did they get picked up from that location? Do they live in that said Eugene, Oregon? What is the relation to this car and possibly this homicide, plural, out of Moscow? I got information that the owner lives in Colorado. Interesting that allegedly the person who owns the home lives in Colorado. That is a rumor I heard. Do not know if that is true or not. Is he connected the homeowner or homeowners to this car, he or they. How many tips have come in on this car? Because I heard many have come in from a source. I will bring you that information shortly. Still searching the database for this make, 2011 to 2013. Once again, who was the tipster who brought in this information pertaining to the car? I brought you commentary recently that the car was seen in the general area near the house at an apartment complex. So was that car parked, sitting, driving? How many times has it been in the area? How many times has it been seen? Is it related to anybody that lives in the area? Was somebody staying with somebody that was driving this said car? The Adam person has also been talked to pertaining to the video of the young ladies on the sidewalk. He is currently cooperating with this investigation. And also in the last commentary, that lawyer that is representing the Goncalves, who feels possibly they don't have adequate direction in this case. I will bring you commentary from the chief of police, who speaks that they are duly qualified to run this investigation. As most of you know, the FBI and the state police are involved, and at any time they can pass the baton over to either agency if they felt like they did not have control of the situation. And as you heard Banfield say, they're going to check into the issue of the 2-year detective. But naturally, as I said, this is a 36-man woman department. Use deduction. They're going to use the people that they have working there, whether they've been there 5 years, 10 years, or 2 years. So I felt like she's being a little messy there by saying we will check into his credentials, because the lawyer spoke here and said it was not readily available to get any info on the detective who is leading this investigation to the deaths of the kids. I will now play content number 3 pertaining to these murders. News Nation was the first 2 sources. We will now go over to Law and Crime, and they will be discussing the white Hyundai Elantra that was found in a state over, Oregon. Thank you for joining me. One second.
I'm Anjanette Levy, and welcome to Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. We've been following the investigation into the murders of those 4 University of Idaho students since it happened back on November 13th. Kaylee Goncalves, Maddie Mogan, Xana Carnodal, and Ethan Chapin all found stabbed to death in that home on King Road. Police have been asking for leads for weeks about a white Hyundai Elantra between the years of 2011 and 2013 that was in the immediate area of the crime scene that morning. We now have photos from Tuesday morning about that vehicle. Photos of it have been circulating online since Monday, and these are photos of a very similar vehicle found on West 7th Street in Eugene, Oregon. There is front end damage. The bumper is hanging off. It's dirty, and there are no license plates. So that is a similar vehicle to the one they're looking for that's been found. And I contacted Moscow police about it, and they told me that they are aware of the vehicle and they are working on it. And Eugene, Oregon police say that they will be impounding that vehicle.
Intermission. Sorry about that. Thank you for joining me. Law and Crime Network is the source.
Police say that they will be impounding that vehicle. And joining me to talk about all of this is Jennifer Coffendocker. She is a retired FBI agent. Jennifer, welcome back to Sidebar. Thanks for coming back on.
Thank you for having me.
Jennifer, let's start with this white car. It's a white Hyundai Elantra. The photos are floating around on the internet, and they show a Hyundai Elantra with front end damage, no license plates, on a street corner in Eugene, Oregon. We're not saying it's the car, but Moscow PD tells me they are aware of the vehicle. They're investigating it. Eugene PD told me they had notified Moscow about it. So your thoughts and feelings as a retired FBI agent on this vehicle just appearing on the street corner with no plates and front end damage?
Well, certainly law enforcement would be completely remiss not to take this clue seriously. They need to go out and discover why in the world and how in the world that ended up there. And if there is any connection, remember, and this is just an interesting little nugget, but Maddie was born there in Eugene. I don't want to say she was necessarily raised there. From the information I've been able to find, she spent her early years there. But nevertheless, there is a slight connection to one of our victims. In addition, it's odd for a vehicle to sustain this sort of damage, not have a license plate, be abandoned. It is somewhat contemporaneous with these murders. Granted, it's going on 5 weeks out, so it's not as if the individual, fled to Eugene, abandoned the car, something like that. But there could be a nexus. This could be our car. It has to be investigated, and that's what the FBI needs to do.
And they are doing that, according to Moscow PD. They are aware of the vehicle. That's what they told me on Monday evening, and they are investigating. We're hoping to get more information about it. And again, they've been going through 22,000 vehicles. This could be the vehicle. It could not be. We don't know, but we're going to stay on top of it for everyone and see if there is a connection here. Jennifer, I want to move on now to the video in this case, the digital evidence, and I'm talking photographs and video. As of about a week and a half ago, they already had more than 1,000 video digital submissions. That is a mountain of material. Some of those could be brief clips. Some of them could be hours-long video clips. So what does it take to go through all of that? Because I've heard people testify, police officers in the past in court, when they're talking about going through surveillance video, and they literally have to sit there and watch it, sometimes for hours, and log the details.
Well, you're exactly right. Having been on the other side of that on numerous occasions, it is painstaking. You go moment by moment, keeping your eye to every detail on that clip, everything that surrounds, in other words, what's in the background that's happening, sound, if it's available. You have to really analyze moment by moment. And sometimes, as you mentioned, these clips are very long. They have requested from the 12th through the 14th for most of these video clips. So this isn't just a snapshot in time. They are looking for incidents that occurred in and around this event. So it's painstaking. Realize that many times this is going to be analytical work that are done by the FBI's analysts. And they are very well trained. They also go to Quantico to learn investigative techniques. They don't tote a gun, but they're very well versed in how and what to look for. And I expect throughout the United States, analysts in the FBI are reviewing these videos as we speak.
So throughout the United States, so they've got, all hands on deck looking at this, because yesterday we learned that they now have 60 FBI agents assigned to this case throughout the country. They had 46 last week. So they've increased the manpower by 14 agents. That seems significant.
It's very significant. And if you look early on to the first press release, they had 22. So we've really, they've increased by threefold the amount of agents they initially had, now into the 60s. And we're not even talking about analytical help, lab help, support help. In other words, the secretaries and clerical staff behind the scenes that are really making all of this go much quicker than it normally would in terms of turning around investigative findings of these agents. So you have basically the size of one of our field offices working on this, one of our smaller field offices. It's important. Everyone realizes we meaning the public, there's a killer on the loose. And this is nothing, it makes this case exigent. It's something that has to be addressed by law enforcement, both from a safety standpoint and of course from a justice standpoint. So the FBI really probably very early on, although the public might not realize it, was at the helm of this investigation. And certainly whether it's successful or not is going to be falling on the FBI and their efforts.
I want to talk about the video again. The fact that you have to painstakingly go through it,
Then maybe if you don't have a clear picture, it has to be enhanced. So we touched on this briefly on our last episode. What can the FBI do? I mean, I think people get a picture in their mind of some CSI lab where they do something, they adjust the pixels, and then the picture is completely clear. What actually goes on with that video enhancement at the FBI lab?
Well, and I will say, I am not a video expert. The video experts that the FBI has are not only well trained, in other words, they have mentors that have trained them for months and years sometimes on how to properly conduct these enhancements. But they also have so much formal training and continuing education. So they also are able to use the state-of-the-art equipment that is available to enhance these videos. So I can tell you from a case agent standpoint, when I needed a bag looked at closer because I couldn't make out where the bag.
Are you sick of having issues with your webinars, wasting time?
Sorry about that.
Make out where the bag was from, or a face because it's a surveillance video and it was too grainy and it was dark and we were far away, or a vehicle where the tag was grainy. We would send that in, and the lab is amazing. Their returns would always help to magnify what we were looking at. I can't remember one case out of dozens and dozens that I worked where a submission to the lab didn't result in a positive enhancement of that evidence.
And so that could be of a person or a vehicle, license plate. So there's a lot they can do with the adjustments they can make in the software, I'm assuming.
Yes, and audio too. Sometimes you might not be able to pick up the audio, but they can enhance that as well. So if it can be done, they can do it.
And Jennifer, I just want to talk briefly. On Monday, the police said they passed the threshold of 10,000 tips. I can't imagine. I've heard of cases where they have 1,000 tips. 10,000 tips, kind of weeding through all of that. Some of them may be, they're not good tips. Let's just be honest. But some of them may have valuable information. So let's talk about what it takes to not only organize that, but to go through that. 10,000 tips, that just boggles my mind.
Yeah, it is mind-boggling. And it's really incumbent on the public when you're submitting a tip that you don't get extraneous tip information that you're just sending in for a reason that doesn't directly pertain to this case and this time frame and the Elantra and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, I know for a fact tips like this come in because tips like this come to me. And so it's very incumbent on people to really keep on track, because every tip that comes in, I can assure you, they have to log it. They are cataloging it in the FBI files, and they're taking a look at it. And from that point, as they come in, they're triaging. And the individuals who are triaging are typically analysts that, again, are very well educated and versed in evidence collection and what would be relevant to this case. They're also very well versed in the facts and details of this case, because at the end of the day, if you're not up to speed on what is coming in and what is happening on this case, you can't even make intelligence decisions to help guide the FBI agents that are actually doing the interviews as to what direction they should be going in. So as information comes in, they're putting it into different piles, if you will, as to what needs to be addressed first and then what needs to be addressed later. And those leads that they feel are very important, they are getting that straight out to the lead detective and case agents, and that is being directed to the 60 other agents to go out and facilitate those interviews.
Well, it's certainly a monumental task, and it's very important. I mean, we have 4 kids, and they were kids, whether they were 21 or 20 or not. They're kids, and they were murdered for no reason. And we hope that they get some answers. The families get some answers soon. Jennifer Coffendorfer, thank you so much again for coming back on. We appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Law and Crime, Jennifer Coffendorfer, ex-FBI agent. Feel free to follow her on Twitter. She gives updates pertaining to true crime and also gives commentary pertaining to the Idaho 4 slangs. Thank you for joining me. You got information here about the Elantra. I'm going to bring you more information, and then I'll give my commentary after I play everything. Thank you for joining me. Law and Crime Network was the source of that. One moment, please. Moscow police clear owner of Hyundai Elantra found in Eugene, Oregon. Well, there we go. As police continue to look for the person responsible for killing 4 University of Idaho students, investigators are aware of certain aspects of the investigation that could help them catch the killer. Police have been looking for a white 2011-2013 Hyundai Elantra that was in the area during the killings for weeks. Investigators are aware of one that was found in Eugene, Oregon. After speaking with local jurisdiction, Moscow Police Department say they spoke with the owner. Police say the car was involved in a collision, which resulted in the car being impounded. The car is registered from Colorado, and police say the female owner is not believed to have any relation to any property in Moscow, Idaho, or the ongoing murder investigation. Police are asking the public to stop contacting the owner. Moscow police believe people in the Hyundai Elantra that was near the home on King Street around the time of the murders have key information on this case. Police have identified over 22,000 vehicles in the investigation. Police are also aware of a video taken in downtown Moscow the night of the murders where the name Adam was mentioned in the video. MPD says they have identified Adam and he is cooperating with detectives. Police have looked through over 7,600 email tips, 4,300 phone tips, 4,500 digital media tips. They are still gathering more information and asking you to send any information to them if you have anything to provide. Our focus remains on investigation, not an individual's activities displayed in the tip. Moscow Police Department said whether you believe it is significant or not, your information might be one of the puzzle pieces that help solve these murders. This commentary is brought to you by KXLY.com, and now I will give you an update from the Chief of Police. Thank you so much for joining me.
So I know there's been some questions about the leadership in this investigation. What I want people to know is this is a Moscow Police Department investigation. We're utilizing the resources of the FBI and the state police, but we pick the investigators. My command team oversees this. We have 94 years of experience between us, and we're going to continue to work this case. We're going to continue to work it to the completion. We have a lot of resources that we're utilizing, but we still ask for your help. We ask for any tips that you might have, anything that you might be able to give us. We're going to take a look at those, but be assured that this investigation is the Moscow Police Department's, and I am the chief, and we're going to follow through with this. And just know that from the very beginning of this, we've been a unified group, and we make decisions together. But those ultimately, I stand behind to the end. I'd like to update you on our tips so far. We received 7,600 email tips. We received 4,300 phone tips. We've received 4,500 digital tips. All of this helps build the picture that we're trying to put together here to solve this case. What we want you to know is we appreciate all your help. We appreciate everything that you've done, but we're asking that if you have anything additional, please just send it to us through our tip line or through our email tip line. We appreciate that.
All right, everybody, that's the chief speaking. Thank you all so much for joining me. I'm going to give my commentary. I don't have much to give now. Considering this car belonged to a female, was in some type of accident and no relation to the crime in Moscow. It is what it is. So we're back to the drawing board. Is it perhaps somebody was following the young lady, got her distracted, got her frightened? Who knows? Maybe the person will come out and speak, but you hear the police say, do not bother this person, do not contact this owner of the car, because you all have this penchant to bother people. I don't understand. What is your problem? What is your problem? Whether you are just a random person, you're a podcaster, or however you want to consider yourself, blogger, YouTuber, whichsoever, there's a fine line when you need to know when to say, I possibly shouldn't do that. I should not contact this person. I should not go to their house. I should not knock on their door. I should not try to find them by emails or messenger. You have to know your lane. And some of you are just sick. It's not even borderline sickness. It is a sickness. When you cannot grapple the fact that, one, you are not an investigator. You're not the police. You're not an investigator. And I think some people are taking this blogging podcaster BS to a whole new level, and it's disrespectful. You have to know your lane. The first time you go contact somebody, they don't want to be bothered. They don't want you contacting them. Leave them alone. Don't bother them. Don't keep messaging and don't keep looking for stuff, trying to dig up stuff to say about these people to make a story for your own content, because it looks like that's what some of you have decided that's what your platform is going to be. You don't care about the truth. You don't care about finding out the truth. You're just going to say anything and just let it fly. Then if you have to retract and take it back, then you will. Then maybe you won't. You just let it sit in la la land with the likes and the views and the revenue off of pure lies. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Just in that quick moment of me doing my research for everything, I'm live, and then I go back to my article and see there's nothing there, because I didn't even read that article before coming on, because I wanted to hurry up and get out. But possibly if had I read that, then I would naturally would have to change the title of the video, which I probably will have to do that. But nonetheless, you see there's no connection, allegedly. But let's just say that is factual. No relations to the crime. She doesn't know anybody. She didn't loan her car out. She wasn't there. Imagine if somebody was following her and she got scared. She got spooked because somebody sees this car and assume, could it be this car? And I'm telling you the truth, because some of you are so wacky, I wouldn't doubt that somebody tried to run the girl off the road or run up on her car, tried to flag her down. She got spooked. She got scared, because you all are acting barbaric out here pertaining to true crime. And I don't know what some of you all's problems are, but you're ill. Very ill. And as I said, in interjecting yourself into an investigation, it's not a joke. This is real. These are 4 people who are dead. So making up lies, spreading stories, harassing the people, their friends, anybody you've seen them talk to, or somebody liked their picture, or you were able to get a hold of a friends list through Facebook, you want to now start harassing these people and calling them, asking them questions and bothering these people, then making up stories about them. And you saw a TikTok video, and now that's just the highlight of your day. You don't even know these people. And pictures are deceiving. Videos are deceiving. Memes, posts are deceiving. You can assume what you want. You're entitled to your opinion of a post. But naturally, it doesn't make it factual. You could just say, well, I see a lot of this, and I think this is going on. But is it the truth? The point is, stay in your lane. We already have commentary that the Goncalves are being harassed. Why people are harassing them, I do not know. But like I said, some of the harassment could be coming from things that he has said that were contradictory in this investigation. And I'm not saying it's right to harass him, but he needs to stop talking because he's making a situation worse and possibly endangering his own family. Because we do not know who the killer is, their connections with other people, who has knowledge of the crime, if the killer's even told anybody, if there were other co-conspirators. We do not know. Only the killer knows. And it was interesting to hear the car being in the same town where Maddie allegedly was born. But then right here, I bring you a news commentary with a source that says, well, just so happened to be some young lady in a car. She had a wreck in no relation to the crime. So perhaps we're back where we started if that is factual. I will take it with a grain of salt, take it as it comes, that it is, and then move forward. But the family being harassed, as I said earlier in my commentary, is very interesting to me because you do not hear the other family members saying that they're harassed, that anyone's stalking them or bothering them or sending them any type of threatening information or saying nasty or berating them. And I think it's perhaps we're hearing from Goncalves because he's the only one talking. And I don't know if the Maddie's family are allowing him to speak on their behalf, but I think they need to step up and speak up for their own kid. Because in the beginning, the Chapins made sure to let everybody know, we're not going to let anybody speak for our child. We're going to speak for him on our own to let you know who he was. And naturally, that's the right thing to do. Whether you are a talkative type of family or not, they wanted to let you know who their son was, and they did that. And you don't hear anything else from them. You don't hear any commentary that they don't like where the investigation is going, that they don't like who was over this and that, and who's only been on the force 2 years and as a detective 2 years. You don't hear any of the negativity coming from the Chapins. You don't hear anything coming from Xana's family except for not being able to talk to the police department about information. You heard that from Xana's mom a couple of weeks ago, but I'm not hearing anything from the father or any other members. Then there's Maddie's family. I'm not hearing anything. And then there are the Goncalves, who are doing the most interviews, the most complaining, hiring a lawyer, PI, and now back at News Nation with a lawyer saying we're being harassed by emails and so on and so forth. Maybe if you stop talking so much and sending out contradictory content, people would not possibly respond, because I'm wondering if some of that response is from the things he said pertaining to the alibis and the wounds, because maybe that's offensive to somebody close to the victim. Maybe they also have other relatives that don't really like what you're saying. Because when you put out as if your child was the only one stabbed, the wounds don't match this, that's, it may be true. I'm not saying that it's not, but it's how it sounds. But this sounds like a me situation and not a them situation, because 4 people died. They're not coming back. And once again, the focus needs to be on the victims. I don't wish any harm to any of their relatives, any of their friends, because as I said, we do not know who the killer is. We do not know who the target was, if there was a one target. So everybody needs to be aware of their surroundings and be aware of what they're saying and the messages that they're sending to the general public, because this is a mad person who killed 4 people. And as I said before, if indeed Kaylee was the target, Mr. Goncalves, you're putting out information pertaining to your child going to this college soon, I would assume next year. That was a bad move. That was a very bad and dangerous move. Because just like these people are digging into everything, digging up this person who wrecked this car, God forbid she'll be stalked and harassed. Just imagine the killer finding out where you live, where your children go to school, your workplace, your wife's workplace. Somebody's already put out what type of work you all do, how far and long do you think it take for somebody to find out your actual location of your job? Sit outside your job and wait on you, follow you around. Nobody is thinking. Everybody is just chitter-chattering. But 4 people were bludgeoned to death. So I think somebody needs to say, I need to cool it and watch what I'm saying. Because you don't want to provoke this thing. Maybe you want to provoke him to help him slip up. I would leave that to the FBI and the state police in Moscow, as I said, to play any type of funny games with the killers. I would not go out here and try to provoke this thing because it was on a rampage for whatever reason. Wasn't a logical reason, but it was a logical reason to him or they. And it would be a shame and atrocious to find out somebody else in either family gets hurt or harmed from something their family members and friends are saying on social media and to the media. See, the media, they don't have to care because that's their job to sit up there, bring the business, poke the bear to some extent, be a little messy, bring a little he said, she said gossip, which they've done. And most news broadcasts don't do that. They don't bring gossip from social media. So all the stuff that you're hearing pertaining to this case that has finally made it to the news and articles and News Nation, such as all these jacks and frat house arrests and underage drinking citations and the bartender name being mentioned. You would have never had any of that information had the videos never been released from the grub truck. Now this video being released. People digging up people's names and affiliations with the victims. You wouldn't have any of that to talk and gossip about as a random civilian or the news. So they're now deciding to play upon social media junkies digging up stuff, and it is dangerous. Because as I've said before, when the bang comes again, if it decides to come, then what? Then what? People running and scouring, oh my gosh, look what happened to Paul, Dick, whatever. And then that'll be another news story for people to jump on and spread more lies and viciousness at the expense of another warm body. There was a movie made many years ago called Paparazzi. I suggest some of you check it out and watch that movie because there's a lesson to be learned in that movie. And this, what's going on here with the internet junkies acting like they're the paparazzi, is a reason why you should watch it and watch it all the way to the end. And ask yourself, are you a part of this phenomena of stalking, doxing, chasing in behind people who are famous and or name being brought to the spotlight, national news? Because I don't think you want to be that person. Because what you need to understand, and you'll see this when you watch the movie, that the tables can turn and you could be the hunted. You could be the one people are following in behind, messaging, taking camera pictures. When you walk outside of your house, you go walk your dog, you go to the garbage can, you go to work. Just imagine people following you around, wanting a picture for 5 minutes of fame to put your name on blast on social media, the news, tabloid paper, so on and so forth. Just imagine you become Facebook news. Well, she walked her dog today at 5:15 p.m. Then she went over to Hobby Lobby and stayed in there for an hour. Now she's coming out. She's on her way to the gym. Just imagine somebody doing that to you. And then posting nasty things about you. Don't know you from Adam. Don't know your first name, government name. Don't know what size shoe you wear, what panty size you wear. But I just want to talk about you because I can and put you on blast 24 hours a damn day because I have a car and a cell phone. How would you feel? And some of you know you wouldn't appreciate someone following you around. That's what some of you need to understand. See, we already have a nut in the chat. The information has come out pertaining to the car. Some woman wrecked her car. A young lady wrecked her car. I doubt that someone would wreck their car on purpose to feed the media circus, considering how expensive it is to live and buy a nice car. Who would wreck their car deliberately to feed into the frenzy and then get stopped after that? See, this is what happens. It's exactly the point I just made in this commentary. Wackos commenting and don't even know what they're talking about or the context of what this channel is trying to bring forward, which is factual information, not stupid ideologies and gossip. Because once again, anything I say up here could be offensive to someone because that's the type of world we live in. People don't like to be discussed. People don't want you giving an opinion pertaining to their actions and their verbiage. But it is what it is. This is a commentary channel. But nonetheless, to just make this your mantra 24 hours a day, getting up, looking for stuff, paying that little fee on your debit card to Google somebody to get their information, that's even more hideous to me. You want to pay somebody $19.99 a month just so you can check personal records and school records and arrest records for your entertainment. Just imagine how many rolls of toilet paper you could have purchased in paying that $20 a month fee just so you can pull up people's names that you see in a national story. And then run to Facebook and YouTube to comment, look what I found. He's had 5 houses his whole life. He hasn't paid child support in 3 years. That's worth your $19.99. I'm just saying. Some of you need to get a grip. Because this is entertainment to some of you. And as I've said to you before, I read your commentary, I read your comments. I read comments on other channels, the news agents that bring forth the information, and the comments are baffling and quite disturbing. That you're so invested in someone's personal life, all because somebody threw their name out. And you go dig up stuff yourself. I'll be right back. I'll go check that for you, Queen. You need not. I don't need you to check anything for me. Because I'm not interested. I don't need a personal shopper for trash. Because you are doing what everybody else is doing. And it's not funny. And it's sick. And I'm not going to use any adjectives for this behavior. It is sickening. Because the throwing out of names, digging up people, it's got to stop. Because you all are going to get somebody killed. And as soon as I read that article and it said the girl had a wreck, first thing I thought, who's to say she didn't fear for her safety? Got distracted. Maybe somebody trying to wave her down, hunt her down. Maybe somebody tried to bump her car. Who's to say? All because of this news flash about this white Elantra that the police are looking for. And it's going to take some stupid person to try to flag down an innocent person who just so happens to have a white Elantra. Mow them down in traffic. Run up on them. Who are you? Where are you coming from? You been to Moscow? And they're looking like, what the hell are you talking about? Get away from my car. And next thing you know, we've got a news story of a dead person down. All because somebody thought that was the car. And they just had to go run up on a person and give them the business. I will not participate in this witch hunt of people. Let the police bring us some facts. Then we can decide if we want to be judgmental on the facts. But as I've always told you, everything known to man is a version. You are entitled to decipher it how you see fit. But everything's a version. From the moment it hits the pavement, makes it to the police department, makes it to the news, makes it to the district attorney, it's a version. It's up to you to decide if the messenger is telling the truth. Once again, white Elantra found in Eugene, Oregon is not related to the crimes in Moscow, Idaho. Goncalves feels harassed by the general public. People messaging them, blah, blah, blah. Well, best thing to do is block all incoming emails and messages. Do not engage in conversation behind closed doors with strangers or publicly. And how about thinking before speaking to a news agent? That may help. Thank you all so much for joining me. Happy holidays. Plan to bring you more content to the vault. Blessings to everyone. This is the sad information for this live broadcast. If you'd like to donate to this channel, $Big Angie 129 Cash App. This is the latest information. Each information was brought to you by Source, News Nation, Law and Crime Network. And the last information was pertaining to a local station, news station. Thank you all so much for your time. This is The Vault.